Hi, this is Mark again, and I'm going to show you how to create a project and a chapter and how to delete those and do a couple of other really basic things you might want to do with your Quilius account. So let's get started. So the most basic way you'd create a project is this button right here. It appears on pretty much every page when you're logged in. So if your screen is really small, you might not see it. I'll show you how this works. If I make my window really small, you can see we have this responsive design thing, and then the button is right here. So don't worry about this. If you're on a phone or whatever, that'll come up, but if you're on the desktop, it'll never be an issue. So I'm going to make this big again so we can see everything the way we intend to. And let's click that button, and we're going to create a new project. So I'll give it a name. And that's all you really need to do. You could just click the Create button, but I want to show you this section down here. Really important. This is how you determine who can see your work. Now, by default, it says just me, which means you're the only one who can see this, and until you change this, and you can, by the way, you can change all this stuff later. Until you change this, you are the only person who will be able to see your work. So let's assume that you want this project to be a little more public. You can change this to a select list, all registered users of Quilius, or you can make it entirely public. Now, if you choose select list, I'll go back to that one for now. What that means is anybody whose name you type in here, and I'll show you here, I'll add a name, and I'll add another name. So now these two people are the only people who would be able to see my project. However, if I click all registered users, now this is a blacklist. These are people who are specifically excluded from seeing your work. So you want to be a little careful about that. For now, I'm going to leave this blank, but actually I'll make it entirely public. So you can just see that's another thing you can do. Now, when it's entirely public, what that's going to mean is that everybody in the world can see your story. So anybody who has the link can come to our site. It's kind of like writing a blog, and anybody can see it. So just know that if you say entirely public, that really is public. Other people who aren't registered with Quilius won't be able to comment or review, but they'll still be able to read. So I'll leave it entirely public for the moment. And let's click Create. And here we go. We have this new project. It's got the name that I specified. It has a default book cover on it. And a few other things. Now, you're presumably not going to want to just leave it this way. You're going to want to give it a little bit of information. So if you wanted to, you could change the title. You could say, My Amazing Project. I'll put a little exclamation on it. Give it a little description. This is my new project on Quilius. Okay, so you've got this. You can also add a genre. So when you add a genre, and you can add as many genres as you want. So let's say this is going to be some sort of fiction, and we'll just say that this is going to be fantasy. Actually, let's make it dark fantasy. And it's going to be about vampires, so I'll say vampire. So you can add any combination of genres you want. Remember that when you do this, you have to click the Save button, like that. You see the project gets updated. You'll note that the title got changed, and all the various things that were done. And if you say done editing, you're good. I showed you before about editing images, and the same thing applies with your book cover. So if you're editing the project, you can roll over your book cover. Roll over your book cover, and you can get to the image library from here and put your own image in. A 200 pixel by 300 pixel image is ideal for the book cover. You really don't want anything more or less to do the job. It'll take other images, but they may come out distorted if it's not a 2:3 ratio. Okay, so much for creating a project and your basic editing. Let's create a chapter. So there's a similar blue button for creating a chapter right here. And that's going to create a modal. And what you're going to do is you're going to give it a title. So we're going to say first chapter. And at this moment, you get to choose between a story or a screenplay. Now, in our lingo, A story is basically anything that isn't a screenplay. So a chapter of a book, an article, poetry, anything like that would qualify as a story. A screenplay is separate because screenplays have very particular formatting involved with them, and we'll cover that in a completely different video. So I'm going to make this a story. I'm going to click Create. Oh, and I'll note that we had permissions set up in the project. We don't actually do that. We assume that whenever you create a story, you're going to want it to be private until you've actually written it. So we just make it private. I'll show you in a second how to change that. So I'm going to create, which is going to take me to the editor. There we go. And there we go. So now I've got a story, and I'm just going to start typing. This is a story of a lovely lady, ... Okay, so I have a story, and I can save it here, just like our project stuff. At the moment, everything has to be saved manually. We're not really doing auto-saving. Bear in mind, these are early days for us. We will probably start doing auto-saving pretty soon. But note that you can also do, if I type here and I say, who was bringing, well, you know the drill here. Okay, if I do Command S, that also saves. So you can save with Command S if you like that sort of thing. Right, so I mentioned chapter permissions. Here we go. Same idea. I'm not going to go through this all because I already went through it, but you see how you have the same options as you had before. You can also change the chapter title from here. All right, so those are the basic things in terms of creation. If you wanted to change the chapter title, I showed you one place where you can do it. There's another place hidden in the Edit Title under the File menu. And I'll talk about the editor separately in another video. Like that. Okay, and now for deleting things. If you want to delete a chapter, in your table of contents, you'll see a red button. Click it. It will ask you if you're sure, and if you say OK, that chapter will go away. As you can see, empty table of contents. Same idea for the project itself. If you wanted to delete it, you'd click the Delete Project button. Are you really sure? You click OK, and your project is gone. All right, be very careful with those buttons. We can theoretically restore things for you, but if you do this, yeah, I wouldn't really suggest you do that. All right, thanks very much, and there'll be more videos. Thanks for watching.